Good evening. We are actually sitting here trying to do a trial run again with Restream after we've had to make some adjustments to the system. So I pray that it'll hold to its signal because on last night it quit working in the middle of the conversation piece. And I'm sure you saw on our faces that we were both quite frustrated because we have been working with this platform now for a while. So we have been trying to figure out what's going on because anytime you start doing anything for the Lord, we always know that it's going to be two things that happen. You're going to
So far,
start,
so good. Keep talking. So far, so
you're
good.
going to either run into some interference.
Mhm.
We also know that sometimes whenever you start doing what God laid on your heart, someone else will start piggybacking off. But my biggest thing is it's not that we're trying to set a trend for anybody. That's definitely not what we're into. The biggest thing that we're doing is trying to build God's people. Let us remember that we all started from somewhere. And one of the greatest things that I love about it is the humility that he and I both have. But one thing I will tell you is, do we get frustrated? Yes, we do. Do we act out? Yes, we do. We act out just like you. Do we have to go back and ask for forgiveness from each other? Yes, we do.
Yeah, because she worked my nerves, I work her nerves, and I think the frustration from the site yesterday, and just trying to get some things put in its proper place. Because when you look at even the topic that we're dealing with, getting to the root of things, a lot of things they uh, let me just I'll say it this way. When you get into the root of things, it surfaces a lot of stuff. Things that you know that are there, things that you don't want to deal with, things that you don't want to face, things that that you have to face, because when you have to get to the root of the issues that are causing problems that happen in your life, problems that will happen prior to your life, things that you may have brought into a relationship that you're hoping that doesn't affect the relationship or doesn't show up in the relationship, the friendship, or doesn't show up on the job, doesn't show up in the new ministry, doesn't show up in the new neighborhood, hoping that the kids don't run into the same type of kids or run with the same type of kids at the school that they're at. You're praying, you're wishing, you're hoping, you're believing. Hey, Apostle, how are you? So last night, as I kept telling you guys, I need you to talk. I need you to talk. You talk tonight. You talk tonight. I don't want it to always seem as though that it's about apostle, because I never want anybody to think that it's the apostle show, it's bishop show, it's pastor show, it's Reverend Garrett show, it's about John Garrett. No, this is about kingdom building, because it's about all of us finding that niche, that glitch, that place that frees us, that brings us to a place of complete peace, living in that peace, maintaining that peace, knowing how to go back and do the maintenance. It's just like your car. Checking the tires, making sure the tread on the tires are not too worn. They're worn enough to where you can still ride them for another year, another 2 years. Being able to take a penny or take a dime and see if the tread is deep enough or not too deep. Knowing where your brake pads are at and making sure that the brake pads are still good enough on the front of the back or on the back of the cars. Now you have anti-lock brake system, so you have brake shoes on the inside of the back rotor, and you have brake pads on the outside. So you have to change pads and shoes on the car. So you need to know where they at. You need to make sure that you're not riding the brakes too much. So what they do, what they call crystallize, where they become hard. So you have brake pads on the car, but they're not doing good, so they're not stopping you. There's an indicator on the brake pad, on the back pad on the inside of the rotor. There's a thing called an indicator. So when it gets too small, that's when you start hearing that. Yeah, that's right. You hear, well, the scrubbing is when you have no more pad. That's when you start hearing yeah. So the little squeaking sound is the indicator. It's a little small metal piece that you have no idea that's on the pad unless you change them. And when it gets too low, it starts. You start hearing that noise. Now, most of the time, you hear noise when you brake. That's called brake dust, and that's because after a while of riding your car, the brake pads start wearing down, wearing down, wearing down, and you just simply just wash it off, or you get what is go to Walmart or go to AutoZone, and they got this little can of stuff, and you spray it on the rim, and it washes, or it sprays off the brake dust. Hey, big brother Wendell, listen. So when we get into the root of things, it agitates you. It irritates you. It's like getting bit by a mosquito, or having a sore that has a scab on it. And at the end of that cut, now healing, that scab start itching, and you steady scratching, and you want to pull the scab off. And when you get ready to pull it off, sometimes it hurt, and yes, it bleeds, or it's just irritating, and you don't want to really pull it off, because if you pull it off, you're gonna open the wound back up, or it's really itching. And what it is, it's the nerves that are steady firing. They're steady firing. They steady, trying to communicate with each other. So that's what happens when you find that you get into the root of things. So last night, I know my wife was saying, you should have go back and look at the film and look at your face. Well, my face, the way it was, is because she has just as much gifting and anointing and discernment and knowledge and understanding of what's going on and experience in life as I do. So I don't always want to be the one that's either in front of the camera or doing all of the talking, because I know what God has given me. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about what God has allowed us to do, because this is about people. This is about kingdom. This is about souls. And even if you choose not to walk in salvation, it's still about salvation of you coming out of what you're in, being able to be at a place of being mentally free, psychologically free, emotionally free, affectionately free, so that you can be at a place to where you don't have to just escape. You don't have to just find yourself, being around people and you're nervous, or you too close to somebody, you're jumping. You don't have to be on edge. So, getting to the root of the problem, or getting to the root of things, or finding the source, or finding the origin of the beginning of what happened. That's what this is all about. So that at the end of the day, whether it's in the church, whether it's in the home, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Native American, whether you're Pacific Islander, it doesn't matter what your color, your creed, doesn't matter what your background is, what doesn't matter what your economical or social background. There's a root to everything that gets you to the place. Even people that never been in authority or power find themselves now where they have some kind of power or authority, now begin to forget the humility that they had before they found themselves in position over somebody, and now they're abusing. Do everybody do that? No, not everybody. But there are some that do it. You have people that may be smaller or shorter than other people. When they find themselves in positions of authority, well, now they take advantage of it. Is it completely wrong? No. But you find yourself where you now begin to do things that you would have not ordinarily have done, excuse my tongue got tied for a moment, ordinarily have done to somebody if you was not there. People of other ethnicities have done this to people because they felt privileged, or they was in privileged positions, or children in the home because they were the first child born, or they were the oldest child in the family, or they were the biggest in the family, or seemed like mama, daddy, grandmother, grandfather, or aunt or uncle took more interest in them, or they may have had godparents, and the other child didn't have a godparent, or they felt to be the favorite, or you were the black sheep in the family because nobody seemed to want to be bothered. So it caused you to do what people always call to act out. Mm-hmm. You act different, or you wasn't the prettiest. You didn't have the best hair. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have, the prettiest eyes. You didn't have the best looking nose, or you had bigger lips, or what they call fuller lips in some, circles, or, you had a wide nose, or you had odd shaped ears, or big ears, or small ears, or, you didn't have enough hair, or whatever the case was. And you were made fun of, and nobody wanted to be bothered with you on the playground. And all of these things, cause you to have social anxiety, or they cause you to have mental anxiety, or they put you in a place to where you will push back. Like Evangelist said when we started off, she talked about abandonment issues. Some people felt abandoned. You had mom and daddy, but it didn't seem like mom and daddy wanted to be bothered with you because they both work. Well, you're the two-parent household, but in the two-parent household, it seemed like mom and daddy were always gone. When you got home, mama was tired, daddy was tired. Daddy couldn't throw a ball with you. Mama couldn't sit down and write with you, couldn't talk with you. You couldn't express what was going on. You were going through some things. You was experiencing some things, or they really didn't know how to help you understand what it was to evolve into a young lady or evolve into a young man. You was having all kind of feelings and you didn't know what was going on, and your body was going through changes and you couldn't, express it. And, you told them what they were teaching you and learning in school and different things of that nature, and you just felt like the oddball. So, these are the things where we get to the root of it, or somebody started doing some things on the school bus or the playground or in the classroom. And now it caused you to feel distance, or you felt like you just didn't belong. You didn't fit in. You were dropped off at grandma's house for grandma to watch you, and it seemed like every time you look up, grandma was always finding a reason to chastise you, whip you, spank you, pull out the spoon, take the spoon out of the pot and whip you with. Some of us in the country, we got whipped with a little bit of everything. They had hose pipes and, spatulas, or they took your paddle ball and took the ball off the paddle and started paddling you with you, or spanking you on the hand. They, took the yardstick and you got whipped with the yardstick, or you was on your knees in the corner, or put you on your knees on rice, or put a book in the right hand and left hand and on your head, and you had to make sure the book didn't fall out of your hands and off your head. See, those are things that happened where we were from, and they were considered to be sometimes abusive, where in some circles girls had to walk around with a book on their head and a book in the right hand and left hand, and that's what they were taught, to learn how to walk, like young ladies, or they had to learn how to prance around, because that's what made them become beauty queens and things of that nature. So in certain circles or certain society circles, there were different things that were done. So you were pushed to do certain things, or you were pushed to be the best beauty queen, or pushed to be the best athlete. But that may have not been what you wanted to be, but that's where mama wanted you to be, or daddy wanted you to be, because they knew this was the only thing that was going to get you out. Or they pushed you to be the best mathematician or scientific or biological, person you can be, because they pushed you in science, or pushed you in English, or pushed you in poets, or whatever the case was. But, you just wanted to be a normal child. You wanted to go outside and be with the other kids, but they told you couldn't be outside because you had to study all the time. You had to write all the time. You had to perfect your writing. So you felt something that just couldn't be explained. Nobody understood. Or you was that child prodigy that had to, you knew you can get on the piano, you can play. You can pick up any kind of instrument and you was able to play it because God gave you this anointed gift to just do anything. Or you can hear any kind of song, and you can sing the song so well. And they had you in all kind of things, but you just wanted to be what all the other kids. And the moment you started doing it, there were issues and problems. Go ahead, Evangelist.
Oh, no.
Because we just wanted to really test it out, but we also wanted to touch on it real quick so that we didn't leave anything out. And as we see now, whatever it was that was done, it's not lagging, it's not pushing behind. And you felt like you were lagging, you felt like you were behind. Even the coaches sometimes put you behind because they thought another player was better than you, but some of your teammates thought you were better than them. But yet the coach felt that they were better than you.
So So basically, we just really came on because of the fact we wanted to make sure that everything was working as far as our straightening site, and the fact that we knew that when we got off last night, we pretty much left you hanging, and the fact that we were frustrated, and also for us to be able to show it in our faces. One of the biggest things that I keep in mind is that we're all human and we're still learning and we're striving for perfection. That's one of the greatest things that I keep in mind. So I'm not going to tell you to do something that I'm not going to do. I'm not going to encourage you to do something that I'm not going to do. But I also know that we got a Bible study tomorrow night, and I wanted to make sure that our streaming was going to work, because to go from Sunday and to start back off on Monday night and we still could not get our streaming right, I wanted to make sure that things were going to go well. We will continue this conversation at the seat of the table, getting to the root of it, because a lot of times, one of the biggest things, like I also said on last night, is that a lot of things tend to happen from childhood to adolescence to our teenage years. So those things that happen in those phases of our life tend to affect us once we start getting to young adult and we become an adult, because we pretty much have now formed opinions. We pretty much made it up our mind what we're going to deal with and what we're not going to deal with. One of the greatest things that I keep in mind is that I was a little pistol. I was small in stature, but I was always ready to throw them hands.
Jumping over people's school bus seats.
Exactly. And the fact of it is that a lot of times I got bullied because of my height. And because of my height, I was determined I was not going to let people push me around.
Mhm.
And because I wasn't going to allow you to push me around, one, my mouth was deadly. I'm not even going to lie to you. My mouth was deadly because whatever came up came out. And then on top of it, I was the only child, which society tries to say that our only children have issues with making friends. I had no issues with making friends. You just wasn't finna be my friend and think you're gonna talk to me in a kind of way and handle me in a kind of way. Nope, not gonna happen.
I think what you just said makes a lot of sense because society not only said that, but society also said that a lot of time kids are the product of the environment. You don't have to allow your environment to depict who you are. You can be from a certain environment and still become something else. Your environment doesn't always mandate who and what you are. Does it build you? It builds character. It builds characterization. It builds you into becoming who you are, and it actually begins to mold your behavior in what it really should be. But you don't have to allow your environment to mandate the person that you really are. Just because you came from the projects, just because you came out of what we classify in this day and time and not understanding what a real ghetto is out of the ghetto, because you came from a broken family, single home family, a blended family is what they call it, where you're not really with your real mother or your real father. Doesn't matter whether your daddy raised you, your mama raised you, your auntie raised you, your grandmother raised you. Doesn't matter whether you was raised by a cousin, whether you came out of foster care. It doesn't matter. What does matter is what you allowed yourself to be built of. A lot of things happen in a lot of these different settings, but what did you believe or what did you allow yourself to grasp? Because these things now go into every other aspect of your life. So there's a root to it. It generates what you're going to do in your relationship, your building of friendships. That now, as we said, purpose to whether or not you're going to bargain, whether you're going to deny, and now you want to start lagging. It started off good, and now I want to lag behind, and that's what happened. We lag behind in a whole lot of stuff. So, that's what we want to look at. Hey, Minister Tanisha, how you doing, woman of God? How you doing, Evangelist, Sister Lynn? So that's what we want to look at. Those are the things, and that's why I said, she said, society said because her mother was the only one that raised her. She had a father. Yes, she did. Did she love her father? Yes. But sometimes father's there, but he's really absent. Sometimes you have a father in the home, but father's absent. Sometimes you have a mother in the home and mother's absent. Not because they literally want to be, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes mama could be there, but mama's so busy, or there's things that mama have going on in her life that she can't do it. Like we have a friend and she works so much, but the children have to now mind the other children because mama is always trying to make sure that there's food on the table, that the lights are there, they have clothes, they have all of the sanctity that they need, or giving them what they didn't have. You may have grew up in an environment where mama tried to keep you safe because there were drugs, there were prostitution, there were alcoholics, there were people that could have raped you, people could have killed you. So mama did everything she could to make sure that you didn't get caught up in that, or you wasn't that runaway child, or you was that child that got caught up in the things that you was the teenage pregnant mother. If you were, okay, and let's move forward. Let's move on. Don't beat yourself up. Don't let people put you down just because. Okay, these things happen. What do you do from here? How do you build from here? Let people say what they say. Do they hurt? Does it bother you? Yes, it does. Now, are you going to let it bother you, or are you going to let it become the bricks, the mortar, the wood? Are you going to let it become the beams? Are you going to let it become the rafters, the joists, floors, ceiling joists that build your house? Or are you going to let it become the wood that now burn you up and tear you down? Which one are you going to allow it to become? So the source and the root of it is either it's going to become the seeds that you use to feed you, or the seeds that you use to allow to kill you, and you stay where you are. Go back to what you were saying. So we go ahead and get off, because we said about 15 minutes and we at that 15, we had a 20-minute mark. I'm sorry. Because you sparked me up. Because last night we were frustrated because the thing just didn't go act right. And I think it frustrated both of us that we almost got to the place that we wanted to come at each other. So that's right, Evangelist. That's right, Evangelist. It changed her life. She said, it changed my life just for my children. And that makes sense. It should. Because that's what it did for you with your children. And I think about what Evangelist Tanisha said, because even with you, with things that you shared with me that people said with your first child to your second child, it inspired you even more with your second child to push you even further. And 20 years later, you have done something that most people didn't do. And yet there's a lot of women like yourself that I'm proud of it, because growing up with sisters and growing up being raised by women, I think it gave me a greater gravity of understanding that irregardless of what people say about women, women have something that I think that most of us as men don't really have, and that is the notion to be able to look past in spite of and still build, even though they're in pain, to still move in a position and a place, to still have sight, even though they don't want to have sight, to be able to push through, even when they don't want to push through. And does it put them in a position that they want to sit down and not move? Yes, it does. Do you see it? Yes, you do. Do you understand it all the time? No, you don't. And even Solomon said he had enough sense to recognize that the ways of a woman ain't never been known. And I think that's what makes it hard for me to see women want to be down, because when you're raised by them and you live with them and you see them pushing through, to see a woman sit down, irregardless of what she's going through, and want to give up, it bothers me, because I've seen too many going through but still keep going even though they hurt. They take that moment to sit down and say, you know what, I just want to slap the devil out of somebody, but then they say, I can't because I want to retaliate. But if I retaliate, then it's going to defeat what it is that I'm really doing, because my purpose for doing what I'm doing is really to benefit, the exponential when there's children involved. Or if I want children, this is what I want to show my children, or this is what I want to show other women, or the young women, that you can still be able to move forward. And I think that's what bothers me a lot when I see a lot of young women of any color, especially women of color, of any color, that decides to do that.
Right.
So get into the root of it, to the source of it, the origin. But when you know the origin, you cannot deny the fact that you can still build and go.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we don't sit down. We look at the things that we go through, but sometimes if we go back and we start searching and looking through and looking down the line, you start realizing that you're starting to repeat a lot of things. Like with my kids, my biggest thing is that whenever I quit school because I no longer felt safe in school. But because my children didn't feel safe, we got one at homeschool for that very same reason. We were determined that we was not going to allow her to go down that road, and we wasn't going to allow her to shortchange herself.
Right.
But then with the other one, he faced a lot of obstacles and a lot of challenges, but yet I still look because I kept pushing him. One, because of the fact, whenever I look at it, I look at the fact, first of all, I'm a seed of an illiterate male. And because I am the seed of it, there's already a stone against me. You get what I'm saying? It's already a rock against me. And because of the fact I chose not to, but I chose to go and get my GED, but nobody looked at the reason, why did you choose to go that route? So whenever I talk, I share my story with my children so that my kids don't have to go down those roads. Right. You don't have to make those same choices. We live in a day and time that I can offer you better than what my mom could offer me. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because now she did try to offer me a second alternative. And let me say that. I don't want nobody thinking that it wasn't, because if you know it was in the 90s, you can go to the technical college and you can complete your diploma. I went to the technical college and I didn't complete my diploma. I sat at the spade table playing cards. So we go to class, and the funny part of it is that mama was in school at that time getting her degree. And when she come out for lunch, we would still be at the car. Y'all, it went out again, so we definitely.
That's why I told you. Right, that's why I told you to keep talking, because it was.
But I was sharing that whenever she would go to class, that I would be sitting up in the card table, and while we sitting up at the card table playing spades, she go to class, and we still sitting at the card table. When she came back, she said, "Okay, this is what we're not going to do. Exactly. You're going to get an education. You're going to have an education." So the thing of it is that she still didn't allow me to keep myself. Right. And because of the fact she did do that, it opened up other doors for me. You get what I'm saying? Right. But I started cheating myself. And I started paying attention that, wait a minute, my kids are starting to do the same thing. So wait a minute, I got to stop this because I don't want my grandchildren doing it now. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, that's
sometimes
true.
we got to start killing things off. So when we get to the root of it, we got to recognize where it all started from. So
That's
that
right.
let me know, wait a minute, if I was goofing off and playing, and my daddy, they say, was a jokester like me. So because he was a jokester like me, wait a minute, that doesn't mean my grandparents didn't try to push him. It was the fact that he took the easy way out. And at that time, it wasn't hard.
Right, because we make the choice, we make the decision, and if there was somebody there that was trying to push and prod us to get to the next level, you're right. Because I mean, even my father had a fourth grade education, but his biggest thing was to make sure that I got to the next level, and that's what he did. And when he watched me walk across the stage and graduate, he was ecstatic and excited. He was there when I graduated. My mother quit school early, but went back and got her GED because she had to take care of her children. So at the end of the day, we both have a history where that's there. So my thing is always pushing education. So I went back and I got my degrees in college, even after getting out of the military. Do I still want more? Yes, I want more. But at the end of the day, you have to look at the fact my three children all graduated high school. My daughter has graduated college. My daughter has her master's from college, from Nicholls State University. Both of my boys decided to do military. My son has my baby boy went back to college. My oldest son, he went to Bible college. So all of my kids decided to do the things that were necessary because I pushed education. So it's imperative, it's important. I have a lot of cousins that decided to do the same thing. I have two cousins that are both medical doctors. So then I have cousins that are lawyers. So it's imperative that you decide where you want to go. Are there others that decided to choose a different route? Yeah, there's some that chose different routes, some that are in jail, some that decided to choose routes that caused them to end up in the grave. So it's up to you, irregardless of what your parents did. And then there was some their parents are, very successful, but well, they chose not to take that route. Should you be ashamed? No, I don't believe you ought to be. I don't believe you should be. There's no need to be at a place of shame because when you did everything that was necessary, your child chose the path that they wanted because you offered them what was necessary and what was needful. My grandfather, my great grandfather, was a self-made millionaire that had no education but left everything that was needful and all the resources for all of his grandchildren, great grandchildren, all of his children, all of his nieces and nephews to be able to build off of even after he died. So a legacy was laid, but he laid a foundation for them to be able to build. Did you like some of the ways and methods and means that were went by, but was well respected by the whole Terrebonne Parish area, and yet everybody knows who he was, who he is, and what he left behind. So what are we leaving as a legacy? So when you look back at the root of things and you find the source and the origin of it, what are you doing with it? So within us, we can't say, well, my mama did it, my daddy did it, my grandfather did it. Okay, if it's in your family because they had a brothel or they had a whorehouse, a cat house, there was an alcoholic, they were drug addicts or whatever, did you choose to do what you did just to put it on somebody else? Or did you make that choice because you allowed what you was going through to be the excuse on somebody else? Or did you do it because that was the choice you made because you wanted to do that, but blame somebody else for it? So we have to take accountability, responsibility, and activate the ability that we have because we have the knowledge to move from the place of what we're going through or staying where we are and not blaming somebody else.
But sometimes we fight things and don't know what we're fighting.
And when
Sometimes we're dealing with things and we don't know why we're dealing with it. But whenever we go back and we trace it, now that we recognize what we're fighting, now we can address it in our own lives because that's what tends to happen. Like I said,
and that's what the principalities, powers, rulers, spiritual wickedness in high places. You're right. So when you recognize it, now.
As my thing is I don't know about you ladies, but I told y'all already know I can be honest about me. I don't know your story, but I do know mine. I remember I told you I used to always love me a hard head. He probably in and out of jail, probably telling us quite a few lies, probably had about 4 or 5 women. Y'all, I told you I could tell my story. I can't tell yours, but I could talk about mine. And then one day it was like a light just said click. And it was more so whenever I had my oldest, because now I don't want just anybody around my son.
Exactly.
One, God gave me a son, and I recognize that because my firstborn was a boy, I knew that I was blessed. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And because I recognized that I was blessed, I knew that I didn't want just any kind of man around my child. I didn't want you thinking that you was gonna come up in my life smooth talking me and think that I was gonna raise you and be your mama and not be his mama. And that's why I thought. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And whenever I think about that and I look at it, I thank God, because if you will remember when you and I first started talking, I told you it was him that changed my life.
Exactly.
Because God gave him to me before I really got out there and really messed up some stuff. And because of the fact, I knew that I wanted to put something in him. And I knew I just didn't want any and everybody around him. One, because I knew he was special. To me, he was special. He might not have been special to nobody else. He was special to me.
I was making a comment.
Okay, no problem. And if his daddy wasn't going to do his part, I knew that I had to do my part.
And that's the biggest thing, because so many women, and I just want to put that peg in that, so many women have had to be the father and the mother and the father, because many of us as men have reneged. But then so many women, some of the root of the problem is that they took on that role and didn't make the man responsible. How do you do that? Why do you try to force him because he don't want to do it? And it's not just the fact that you want money from them, but you make them accountable, because in order for that male to be a male, in order for that male to become the man, there has to be a man in the life. Okay, you want to make them accountable? If there is a male that you have now brought into the life of your child, you want to make him accountable? Well, he gonna get a little upset and a little mad, because now the male that's in the life of your child now begin to teach your child, because you allow him the authority to be able to show your son how to be a man.
Right.
Teach him what it is to be a man. Begin to guide him in manly things. But your child have to accept the fact this man not trying to become his daddy. This man is just trying to give you guidance on what it is of being responsible as a male, and what responsibility that brings you into manhood is, and what it's all about. So now your father gonna get to a place that he gonna either step up or just step out of the way, and he gonna be mad. So now either he gonna take accountability and become responsible, and it's not about the dollar, because the child really wants the father in the life. Exactly.
And I think that's where a lot of times we as adults do get it wrong. And I thank God, because of the fact me and my son do talk. And those are those hard conversations that I always talk about, those hard conversations that sometimes we have to have. And that's one of the biggest things that I had to let him know is, let me help you out, is that I recognize, and the reason why I never went to a courthouse and kept going up on child support wasn't looking for anything. One is that I knew I wasn't going to miss no more time out of my job, and I knew I had to provide for you if not, he come through. And I also wanted you to understand that I was wise enough to know that I was you one day. And I remember what those feelings felt like. And it wasn't about finances. All I wanted was the relationship. I knew that I was my father's only daughter, and I wanted the relationship with my father.
And you can't hide the emotions. You know, the emotions gonna be there. So young men, young ladies, mothers, those emotions gonna be there. And that's where you have to do the best that you can to keep communication open, talk with them, help them begin to find the best way that they can to express it. Will they get angry? Yes. Let them know it's okay to be angry, but show them a different way of expressing that anger, so that that anger doesn't become to a place of violence that caused them to get in trouble. Show them right and disrespectful. So if there is somebody that you have chosen, gradually begin to integrate that person into your life, not just, thrust this person into life. Gradually begin to bring the person in, invite them in, get them to know the person, get the person to know your child. Get it understood that, hey, you're not replacing the person as the father, because that's one thing I never did in the life of my wife's kid. First of all, I can't be your father, but I can be a fatherly figure, because you have a father already. The thing that I can do, and what I do know how to do, is to be a father, but I'm not trying to replace your father. So if anything you see me do or say, or my mannerism and behavior, yeah, it's going to be what a father does. Because first of all, I have children. And even if I didn't, the fact that your mother have had you guys and you have been with your mother, my job is to guide you as a father would guide a child, as though you were my child. So my responsibility as a male, my responsibility as a man is to understand that I can't have your mother without having you guys. And I will love you as though your mother and I were the ones that produced you. Your mother and I was the one that came together. So my job is to get to know you, understand you, and don't get it twisted. I'm not just trying to love you because I'm with your mom. I'm not trying to like you just because I'm with your mom. No, that ain't what it is. I'm genuine with what I do. So I need you to be upfront and honest. I already know you're not gonna like me from the start because one, I ain't your dad, and I'm with your mom, and I don't look like your dad. Second of all, I'm dark skinned, your daddy light skinned. So when kids understand that and you begin to build a rapport just simply means you getting to intimately know them. You creating what she just said, the word relationship. You building a bridge between you and them. You getting an understanding that is more than a friendship, but you're friendly enough that they can come to you, they can talk to you, but you establish a boundary, you establish some borders, you establish a standard, you put some things there to let them know that if it come time for me to correct you, I can correct you. But I'm friendly enough with you for you to be at a place to where you open enough to be comfortable. But you ain't gonna be too comfortable that if it come time for me to tell you, no, stop, sit down, you can't do that, this ain't going down, you need to understand that. But if you decide to act out, we need to sit down with your daddy, we need to sit down with your mom, it's the opposite thing, and we need to find out what we need to do to figure out the best way to handle this, because we can't have the disruptions that's going to take place, because that's going to cause problems. We got to find a resolve. We got to find a solution. Then when there's a resolve to what it is that caused the core of the issue, now we got to implement something there. So when you get to the root of it, do you put something in place to make sure and ensure that these things don't happen again? Or what you heard us say a moment ago, allowing it to repetitively repeat itself, and you residually go through the same thing. Residually means you got a repeat of the same thing coming back in, and this is the payout that you continually get, which is you have the same kind of people, the same kind of mindsets, the same kind of spirits, the same kind of issues, the same kind of emotional turmoil, the same kind of emotional breakdown. You get the same kind of affections. You get the same kind of people running in and out of your life, running in and out of your mind, telling you the same kind of lies, breaking you down the same kind of way. You got the same kind of tears. You got the same kind of issues and problems. You're fussing, you're crying, you're bitter, you're bickering and everything else. You're barring, you're bordering, you're angry and everything else. But you can stop it if you want when you find out the source of the problem and the root of the issue, and you cut it off so that it have no roots in the ground, it have no seeds that is spreaded nowhere else, and it can't get back in your yard again. And that's all I have for tonight.
So at this time, we're gonna get ready to get off, because we have been on a little longer than we said that we would be on. I'm pretty sure you can hear the microwave in the background where Apostle done heated up his food. He had when he got, so I keep hearing it go beep, 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 beep. So we're gonna get ready to get out of here. We love you guys. We look forward to talking with you on, what is it, Friday or Saturday? Because you know this weekend you came back and did 2 nights back to back.
I tell you what, since we came on tonight, and if it's okay with Evangelist, and since we came on tonight, we'll come back Saturday, because tonight was trying to get this crazy streaming site to do what it needed to do, and see that we came back on after it decided to click out. And the funny thing, it clicked out, but it never went off. That's why I told you keep talking, because it was still picking up. So that's why I told you, because on here it never went out. It was just on the screen that it looked like it shut off. So the page went off. So Saturday, if it's okay with you,
Yeah.
instead of Friday, we'll see you Saturday night at 8 o'clock. So we thank all of you that came on, all of you that commented. Hey, look, Alana, God's mother came on. Oh no, that's my friend from home. Hey, Lulu, how you doing? So listen, we'll see y'all guys Saturday night at 8 o'clock. We're hoping that what we said tonight, and if you just came on and we're getting ready to go off, this is our seat at the table where we discuss a little bit of everything. And the topic has been getting to the root of things. And it discusses a little bit of everything to get us to the place of completely being free. So see us Saturday night at 8 o'clock. We do thank all of you. We appreciate all of you tonight, to all of your comments, to all of you that viewed us. So we'll see you Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
And if this conversation is helping you, send us a comment and let us know that it's helping. We love you. We love you. We love you. God bless you. Have a great night.
See you Saturday.